Hello, hello, welcome back once again. I had looked through the Fright Flicks TOPPS trading card set from the 1980s, which featured a lot of horror movies at the time, cards 1 through 25. So I'm going to do 26 to 50 today. So these are two of the four wax packs. One was uh, Fright Night, and another one was Predator, and they also had an image featuring Pumpkinhead, and another one for, of course, Freddy Krueger, who was the most popular horror character of the time. Um, I didn't do this last time. I'm going to open one of these. I had opened this before to get some cards I needed. And Stay Puft there. I just wanted to show the stick of gum that you got. Here it is, the famous stick of gum. Looks exactly as it did back in the day. It kind of looks like petrified rock, like a thin piece of cement. I will never eat this, and everyone is warned against eating this kind of thing. I mean, you probably could consume it. I wouldn't try. I've heard stories. I've never tried it myself. I've heard stories about, it tastes like dirt and it makes you like vomit instantly. I will never try this. I'm not that stupid, but I mean, some people like to. That's fine. The thing about that gum too is it does stain the cards at times. So there you go. So let's look at cards 26. I think that's what this is. 26 to 50. Now, the way these cards worked was they were marketed to kids like myself at the time. I was probably about 10 or 11 or so, and featured images from horror movies, which at the time were hot again. There was another golden era of horror in the 1980s. And they had funny captions. This was in the style of old TOPPS trading card sets like Funny Monsters, and I think it was called Creature Features. And on the backs, they had these cleverly written urban legends with enough detail to keep you guessing as to whether or not it was real. And they usually, if not always, were not real, but they had enough detail in terms of areas and dates and names that you thought they were real. It was before the days of the internet when you could just look all this stuff up and realize it wasn't real. So yes, and I should say as well, so TOPPS did put out these cards in the US market. In Canada, we have a company called O-PEE-CHEE, and there were some small differences, and you'll see them here if you're familiar with the TOPPS cards. So let's go through cards 26 to 50. It was a 101 card set. They use a lot of these images from American Werewolf in London, which was like a dream sequence. But it's one of the most memorable parts of that movie. Sorry, wrong answer. So it's from American Werewolf in London. And did it ever happen? The 5 planes took off in formation from Hoyle Field on November 16th, 1947, and climbed steadily. They entered a cloud bank and then radioed for help. Another 5 planes were sent up, but no trace of the first 5 was ever found. Dun dun dun. Freddy Krueger appeared in a lot of these cards because he was white hot at the time with like toys and magazines and t-shirts, and it was just all, TV specials and his own TV show. It was a big deal, man. The single scene is murder. I like that. Did it ever happen? During the evening of May 18th, 1958, 4 greenish spheres of light passed over the town of Markham, Wisconsin, causing a total electrical blackout. When electric current was restored, it was discovered that 4 newcomers to the town had vanished. Dun dun dun, because they were aliens, I guess. Here's Pumpkinhead. Warning, I break for small animals and eat them. That's funny. So this thing says Pumpkinhead. That's what further confused me. So if you saw my previous video, we saw some imagery from Pumpkinhead calling it Vengeance the Demon. And I thought if you're saying Pumpkinhead, then it's Vengeance. It's what is this, another movie? So I was confused. In February 1923, Admiral A.C. Hotch led an expedition through a hole in the southern polar cap. There he and his men encountered a green-skinned civilization. Further contact was made impossible by an earthquake which sealed the hole. Sure, that's convenient. Now you put on the bunny outfit. That's funny. So that's from American Werewolf in London, that same dream sequence. Did it ever happen? A criminal Randon bet he could rob any bank vault. The 9th Federal Savings Bank accepted the bet. The vault was locked and guards placed around it. When opened the next morning, the money was gone, and so was Randon. Radon. Oh, pick a better name, man. That's from Day of the Dead. That's a heck of a hangnail you got there, pal. The sleep of Mr. and Mrs. Johnson of Flushing, New York, was interrupted on the night of July 23rd, 1963. An invisible force began throwing glassware and furniture against the walls of their home, awakening the couple and frightening them with weird laughs. Happens all the time on TikTok. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the grossest one of all? Another Freddy Krueger image from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. Did it ever happen? The Eskimo village seemed strangely quiet to Grapper Joe Leland on a cold morning in December 1939. He decided to investigate. What he saw was to completely mystify him and the scientific investigators. The population had been turned to stone. Dun! That's a great pitch for a movie. Hello, I'm from Acme Pest Control. That's from The Fly, of course. Did it ever happen? The cauldron of burning molten iron tipped over, spilling liquid metal all over a group of mill workers in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on October 3rd, 1955. They felt the scorching heat as the iron touched them, but for some unknown reason, not one man suffered burns. Did it ever happen? No, but, it's entertaining. Oh no, now I'll need to buy new gloves. That's, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Did it ever happen? Henry Charles of Bismarck, North Dakota, was an amateur pilot, and it was a lucky thing for the other passengers on from the transcontinental jet flight on September 5th, 1955. 10 minutes after takeoff, it was discovered that the crew had vanished and Harry had to pilot the flight. Did it ever happen? A lot of people vanishing in these things. Mayhem? I'm up for it. Yeah, that's the baby alien. Yeah, it's part 1. Reporter Forrest Dayton could see the dream disaster as clearly as if it had really happened. A giant ship had sunk as passengers screamed. He forgot the dream until a week later he read the Titanic sank on April 24th, 1912. One tube of acne gel, king size. That's cool. It's from The Fly. Did it ever happen? The tidal wave was coming closer, the telephone lines down. Mrs. Edna Riley was crippled and there was no way to get help except to scream. Herman Jones, passing by, heard her and came to her rescue, but Herman has always been stone deaf. Dun! Just in the stress of the moment, he regained his sense. I don't know. My dog's hair, man. It's everywhere. Um, what do you mean? I just had a manicure. That's from Fright Night. Yep. It began to rain harder, so 23-year-old Fred Morris of Jersey City took shelter under a nearby oak tree. With a crash, a bolt of lightning struck the tree. When the smoke cleared, Fred discovered his hair had turned white from fright. That's more unfortunate than scary. I don't. Sure, they're just running out of ideas at that point. By the way, how's the meatloaf here? That's Nightmare. American Werewolf in London. Did it ever happen? A dead man was brought into Bellevue Hospital. Dr. James Quitman, who performed the autopsy, realized he had a mystery on his hands. Not only had the man been killed by an Indian arrow, but the body appeared to have been dead for over a century. Okay. Well, then it would be like a skeleton. They sure have ugly girls in this neighborhood. See, it's a great shot. And as I was saying in my previous video, a lot of these were great because we couldn't get high definition shots of these characters aside from maybe the movie theater. TV wouldn't offer that. We wouldn't really know what high definition was with that. And maybe magazines and stuff. But like you got some great images with these cards. Nowadays, you just like pull up like a high-res image from online. Did it ever happen? Blackbeard's treasure on St. Agnes Island may never be recovered. Ever since John Clark tried to retrieve it in 1856, it has sunk 1 foot deeper. Whenever a shovel gets within 6 inches of it, scientists can offer no reasonable explanation other than the dirt just sinks. Great shot of the one of the ghosts from Ghostbusters. Give Grandma a big sloppy kiss. The creature from the flying saucer kept coming closer. The people of Plainfield, West Virginia, ran to hide. A dog attacked the creature, but was turned back by a blast of sound. The creature then returned to the saucer and took off. Dun dun dun. Yeah, sure. I mean, they're kind of reaching with this one, but like, of course it didn't happen. No job is too big for your local exterminator. There's an alien from part 1, I'm assuming. Yep. The operation was a delicate one. Surgeons worked quickly to save the life of Edith Andrews. 5 hours later, the operation was over. Only then did the surgeons learn that there had been a hospital power failure everywhere but in the operating room. Dun! Now, the TOPPS cards had a green background and O-PEE-CHEE had a blue. That's all I've ever known, was the blue background in these cards. It's from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. I could tell by the grading and stuff. Darn it, I forgot the marshmallows. Ray Billings of Austin, Texas, had enjoyed the programs on station KLEI on January 15th, 1964. He wrote to the program director to say so. He shortly received a card telling him that KLEI had not broadcasted since June 3rd, 1957. Dun dun dun. By the way, are you insured? Now this, let me remind you again, this is a card set for children. And you see like a mutilated body here. You know, this kind of thing probably wouldn't fly today, but the curse of the devil hound on you, screamed the old woman, sentenced by Sir Thomas Hughes on March 30th, 1738. 3 days later, Sir Thomas was riding, never to return. His body showed that he had been attacked by an animal, but the hairs found nearby could never be identified. Dun dun dun! The devil hound, that's what it was. That's from Poltergeist. That's cool. It kind of looked. I mean, I guess that was the style they were using in Ghostbusters, like a big um practical effect thing that then you just sort of impose on the film. Honey, shut the window. I feel a draft in here. The crew of the HMS Victory was shocked when one foggy morning on October 19th, 1952, they saw a 19th century clipper ship headed straight towards them. A certain collision when, to everyone's amazement, the clipper ship just passed through them. Because it's a ghost ship. Trick or Treat is from Fright Night. Yep. Did it ever happen? On October 2nd, 1955, while visiting his parents in Wisconsin, Harry Martin told them they would never see him again. The following week, the United Airlines flight he was on crashed in Wyoming, killing Larry and 65 others. Dishwashing liquid? I'm soaking in it. I don't know if dishwashing liquid was terrible back in the 80s, but I remember a lot of commercials about, dishpan hands and stuff, and I don't really see that anymore. I don't know. Did it ever happen? Sharon Hardy stood petrified in fear as the grizzly bear charged at her. From the corner of her eye, she watched her dad shoot a rifle and kill the bear. A natural action for a father, yes, but in this case, it was supernatural. You see, Mr. Hardy had been dead for 6 years. There's a lot of this kind of story in these things. Someone comes back to do something good, but they've been dead, you see. Dun dun dun. Great shot of Queen Alien from Aliens. Braces? Really? You think so? Did it ever happen? The entire population of Hanover, Iowa, had gone to the annual town picnic on July 4th, 1937, at a grove 3 miles from town. When they returned home, all the buildings in the town were gone without a brick or scrap of wood left. Okay. Next time I'll use an electric razor. Dun, a mutilated face for your children's card collection there. Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Did it ever happen? The night of March 8th, 1950 was dark. Thief Sam Regan picked his victim, but the tables were turned this time. His victim attacked Sam. As Sam groggily picked himself up, he glanced at the stranger's legs. They were the legs of a gorilla. Oh, okay. When was this? 1950? Sure. The unkindest cut of all. The chair in the antique shop enchanted Mrs. John Landers, so she bought it. Later, she noticed a carved inscription: Mrs. J. Landers, January 7th, 1907, March 5th, to March 5th, 1963. From that moment, she lived in uncertainty lasting until her death on March 5th. Wow. Wow, that's creepy. TV has gone to my head. That's like a publicity shot for Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. Did it ever happen? The Denver police thought they had a sure case against Robert Manville. His fingerprints were found at the scene of the crime, and witnesses had identified him. Then they learned that at the time, Manville had been in jail for another crime. Okay. So, like, he, I don't know, cloned himself or something. And here's the 50th card. Okay, everybody, arms extended and stretch. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's like doing aerobics or whatever. That's a cool shot of the Queen from Aliens. Did it ever happen? The people of Philo, France, watched as the dark orange clouds slowly approached their small village on August 3rd, 1873. The cloud soon covered the town. When the cloud vanished, all the wooden buildings had been burned for no apparent reason. Dun! Yeah. And I mean, as I say before, they were just fill these things with details to make you think it was real, but none of it was. And there you have it, the 50th card. And join me for another round of these from 51 to 75. Till then, take care.